The first thing that hits is the smell. Rotting fish, hot animal dung, unwashed bodies baking under a sky so blue it looks painted. The streets are unpaved, ankle-deep mud after rain, choking yellow dust when it's dry. Pigs root through garbage thrown straight out of front doors before sunrise. A cartwheel grinds over loose stone somewhere in the dark. A dog hasn't stopped barking since before dawn. This is Athens, 440 BC, the city that gave the world democracy, theater, and philosophy. Right now, it stinks. Before dawn. The sun hasn't cleared Mount Hymettus yet. Athens is already moving. A slave woman is hunched over a stone quern in the dark, grinding grain. Has been for an hour. Will be for another. The sound, coarse, rhythmic, relentless, echoes off bare clay walls into a courtyard no bigger than a shipping container. This is how every morning starts in this city. Not with birdsong, with grinding. The house is mud brick, no windows face the street. Just a heavy wooden door opening inward to that small courtyard, the only source of light for every room around it. The floor is packed earth. The furniture is 3 low stools and a sleeping mat. This is not a poor household. This is just what Athenian houses look like. Plain, inward-facing, deliberately unremarkable. Wealth in Athens is never shown at home. It's performed in public. A man eats standing near the courtyard entrance. Flat bread, still warm, torn, and dipped in heavily watered wine. A fistful of black olives. Nothing else. Athenians don't value breakfast. It's fuel maintenance before the real day begins. His wife ground that flour, baked that bread, and will not be seen outside this house today. Not because the door is locked, but because her family's reputation depends on her invisibility. The more respected the household, the more confined the women inside it. She manages the food stores, raises the children, runs the domestic economy of this entire building. She is skilled, capable, and completely erased from public life. Sunrise, the streets. Step outside, and the city arrives all at once. A man staggers past carrying a terracotta water jar on his shoulder, bare feet slapping wet stone. He's fetching it from the nearest public fountain 3 streets away, because almost no private home in Athens has its own water supply. He is a slave. He will do this 4 more times before midday. A metic, a foreign resident, is already unlocking his bronze workshop at the corner. He has lived in Athens for 18 years. He employs 3 workers, pays his taxes without fail, and will never vote. By the mid-5th century, Athens had drawn a sharp line around citizenship, holding power in the hands of Athenian-born men, while the rest sustained the city without a voice in its fate. Athens in 440 BC was a crowded society of citizens, foreigners, and enslaved people spread across the city and the fields of Attica, together numbering in the hundreds of thousands. Only a fraction of them had the rights of citizens, or a voice in politics. The Agora. Morning. There is no quiet entrance to the Agora. It hits like a wall. Stall sellers shouting prices, bronze hammers ringing, the hot, sour smell of fish sauce fermenting in open clay pots, slaves on raised platforms being examined like livestock, their teeth checked, arms extended, eyes assessed for signs of resistance. The sellers are almost entirely metics and slaves. The buyers are citizens. Nobody questions this arrangement. On the north side, the painted stoa stands with its long colonnade of cool shadow. Inside, enormous murals cover the walls showing Marathon and Salamis, Athenian soldiers frozen mid-charge in vivid color. Under these painted victories, real citizens gather to argue about the present. Near the tholos, a crowd is thickening around one man. He's short, heavy-set, flat-nosed, dressed in a simple tunic that hasn't been washed recently. He looks like a stonemason. He might have been one, once. He's not speaking. He's asking questions. A young man nearby is trying to define justice, confidently, arms crossed, voice steady. The short man tilts his head and says, "Yes. But if that's true, then wouldn't it follow that?" The young man's face changes. The confidence drains out. He opens his mouth, closes it, looks at the ground. His name is Socrates. Athens will vote to execute him in 30 years. Right now, he's just another voice in the chaos of the agora, barefoot, unbothered, doing it again. Midday, the gymnasium. The heat at midday is a physical presence. It sits on the city like a hand pressing down. The gymnasium is the escape. Men strip completely before entering the exercise ground. The word gymnasium literally comes from gymnos, meaning naked. There is no other way to do this. Oil from a small ceramic flask, then fine sand pressed into the oil, then wrestling. Two men grip each other in the center of the dirt court, arms locked, feet searching for leverage, breath coming hard. An older citizen watches from the colonnade, calling out corrections. There is no distinction between coaching technique and teaching character. Both are the same lesson. Between rounds, men argue. The same voices that were in the agora 3 hours ago are now here, slick with oil, still unresolved on the harbor tax proposal. The conversation hasn't stopped. It just moved. After training, the strigil, a curved scraper drawn across the skin in long strokes, pulling oil and sand and sweat away in gray ribbons. Then cold water poured over the head from a stone basin. Only cold. Hot baths are for Persians, for the soft and foreign. The cold is the point. Afternoon. The theater. 17,000 people are climbing the south slope of the Acropolis. The Theater of Dionysus is carved directly into the hillside, stone seating tiers following the natural curve of the rock, descending to a flat, circular orchestra below. The acoustics are extraordinary. A single coin dropped on the stage floor can be heard clearly from the very back row, 150 meters away. Today is part of the city Dionysia, the annual spring festival. Attendance is not optional entertainment. It is civic duty, religious observance, and competition. 3 playwrights competing over 3 days for a prize voted on by citizens. The stage holds 3 actors, all male, all masked, with large theatrical faces fashioned from light materials, their expressions carved for distance, not for subtlety. The chorus of 15 men moves in precise formation below, chanting in unison, marking the rhythm of the tragedy like a heartbeat. A hero has destroyed his own life through actions he didn't understand at the time. The truth is arriving now, slowly, in front of 17,000 people, and no one is moving. When the revelation lands, the theater goes completely silent. The silence of 17,000 people holding the same breath. Then, somewhere in the upper tiers, someone exhales. Evening. The symposium. The city changes as the light turns amber. The andron, the men's dining room, has been rearranged. 7 couches line the walls at an angle, each facing the center. Low wooden tables between them, set with bread, olives, sharp cheese, strips of dried fish. The food is secondary, it barely matters. One hetera is present. An educated courtesan, one of the only categories of women in Athens allowed near intellectual life. She studies rhetoric, she debates, and she is not a wife, which means she is not confined to the women's quarters, which means she is the most dangerously intelligent person in the room. and most of the men know it. The symposiarch decides the wine ratio. 2 parts water, 1 part wine. Serious enough to think. Loose enough to say the thing you actually mean. The first cup hits the floor. Offering to the gods. Then the question goes around. What separates real courage from the performance of it? A soldier argues they're the same. An older citizen says performed courage is cowardice wearing a mask. The hetaira lets them finish, then explains quietly and precisely why both answers miss the point entirely. The room goes still. Then the argument begins again, louder. Midnight. The streets are black and almost silent. A single oil lamp bobs through a narrow alley, a slave carrying a torch, leading a drunk citizen home, saying nothing. The Acropolis above is dark, except for moonlight catching the top edge of the Parthenon's columns. White marble. Perfect proportions. Not the work of slaves alone, but of an entire workforce lifting marble into the sky, turning stone into legend. The city smells different at midnight. Less fish, more smoke, more stone, more something older underneath. Tomorrow, a few will wake with the power to shape Athens. Many more will wake to carry it. And half the city will wake behind walls history rarely records. The Parthenon catches the moon. The pig in the alley below it roots through yesterday's garbage. Athens sleeps.